All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here today. We're very excited to welcome our friends from the Department of Social Services Speakers Bureau to provide an overview of SNAP, TANF, and SAGA Cash today. This was a highly attended event last year. And we heard from folks that you guys wanted some more. So I would love to introduce Dasheen Blizzard and Melissa LeClaire from DSS, who will be guiding our webinar today with their presentations. Today's webinar is being recorded and it will be shared out on Roundtable and it will be sent to all of those who registered for today's session. So even if you've missed today for a variety of reasons, that's okay. You'll still be able to get access to it. And our folks from DSS will also be sending over their slide deck. So we'll have that as well available to those who need it. So don't worry about trying to copy down charts and copying down all the many different details. You guys will have access to everything after the fact. We're planned for about an hour of presenting today, and then we've slotted enough time for us to get through a Q&A. So please make sure that you guys are using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screens, and we'll be doing our best to make sure that all of your questions get answered at the end of the session. We do request that given the fact that there were, I think, well over 300 people that registered for today's event, please, if you ask a question, be very clear in your question and how you phrase it and what you're looking for, and do not include any personal identifying information or any client level detail, as this is going to be shared and recorded. Um, Once again, want to thank everybody for being here today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Melissa to get us started with SNAP. Thank you for being here, Melissa.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Melissa LeClaire. Again, I work for the Department of Social Services, General Eligibility. So today we are going to go over the SNAP program, the Department of Social Services Program Overview. These are SNAP, TFA, SAGA Cash.
Oh, hold on one second, because I'm not seeing the slides being shared.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Dasheen. One second, folks.
Sorry, I'm showing it on my end. So let me see if I can escape and go back in. Having some technical difficulties. It has taken a moment. I apologize.
That is totally fine.
How's that?
There you go. Yeah, you can go ahead and start the slideshow.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Welcome back. SNAP Overview,
Oh, hold
Department of
on.
Social Services Program Overview.
Swap your display settings. Sorry. Sorry, guys. We did this before you all were in here, but
There we go. All right, I think we're on track.
there you go. All set.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry. There we go.
These are the 3 different programs that we will be going over today. The first one is our
All right. So I'm assuming the silence means that you don't see the slide.
There we go.
There you
Okay.
go.
So this is the food stamp, the SNAP program, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that helps eligible families and individuals purchase food. These are the approximate number of folks that we help nationwide in Connecticut. These are some of the different food stamp outreach programs that folks and agencies may go to apply and get help applying for the food stamp program. These are the different requirements that you need when applying for food stamps. You must be a Connecticut resident and prove current address where you receive the mail. We need proof of identity, a picture, ID, birth certificate. All types of income must be verified. Self-employment, under an income, which is money from friends, alimony, child support, rental property, unemployment. We do have also different ways if people have problems getting their income. We have access to Social Security to see how much they get monthly. We have access to child support. We also have access to unemployment, and we do have access to what's called work number, where we can put folks' social security number in the work number, and it will show up if anybody's working to obtain their pay stubs. And we also have motor vehicle for assets to see if anybody owns a vehicle. These are the different ways to apply for the different programs, or right now, food stamps. Who is required to be on an application? The household composition is a common question asked by clients and applicants. I'm going to give you two examples. Example one, a parent, their 23-year-old child and 18-year-old child live together. The 23-year-old is responsible for their own food. What is the household composition? The household composition is the parent and the 18-year-old because the child is under the age of 22. So for the state of Connecticut, you have 22 is the age, not 18. 22 is the age where they can apply for their own food stamps. Why wasn't the 23-year-old included in the household comp? Again, because they are over the age of 23. And if they purchase and prepare their own foods, meals, they can apply for their own SNAP. Example two, grandparent and adult child, 27 years old, and grandchild living together applies, and they purchase and prepare meals separately from their child and grandchild. What is the household comp in this scenario? The grandparent can apply for the young grandchild, and the adult, the 26-year-old, can apply for their own because they are over the age of 22 and purchase and prepare their meals separately. Interviews. Everyone who applies for food stamps, they will have to have an interview. And what the interview consists of is we just go over to make sure, you know, that all the information that was provided on the application is correct. And that gives folks time to say, oh, you know, I forgot so-and-so. So it gives us a time to just really review their application. Right here is the new SNAP gross income limit for the state of Connecticut. It's based on 200% of the federal poverty level for the household. We do this through a program called Broad-Based Categorical Eligibility, BBCE, which also allows us to waive the asset limits for most households. All households still need to meet the net income limit of 100% of the federally poverty level, FPL, sorry. SNAP households ages 60 and over or disabled with a gross income over the 200 FPL may still be eligible, but are subject to an asset limit. So this just goes over who has assets, who doesn't, and the percentage of the FPL. Expedited SNAP. Some households can receive their first months of SNAP benefits within 7 days of application. If a household meets the expedited SNAP criteria, the need for the application verification may be postponed. When expedited SNAP is granted, the household must provide the requested information in order to continue receiving benefits beyond the month of application. If a household does not qualify for expedited SNAP processing, DSS has 30 days to make a decision on their application. So again, right here, this just tells you the maximum benefits for how many people are in your household, again, using the 200 FPL. How do I access my SNAP benefits? Your EBT card or electric benefits transfer card is how you access your SNAP benefits. It is very important to choose a PIN number you can remember. Do not write your PIN number down. Do not let others know your PIN number. And it is very important to not use your social security number, your birth date, or anything that, a stranger could know and guess your PIN number. I don't know if you heard in the news, there is a lot of scamming going on with the food stamp cards. So you want to make sure your PIN number is something that nobody could ever guess if trying to add in numbers. Where can I use my SNAP benefit card? Most grocery stores, supermarkets, and corner stores accept SNAP and EBT, such as Walmart, Target, Costco's, Trader Joe's. Also places where food is sold, including drugstores, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid. Also, markets use your food stamp card, and you also get a discount at farmers market with your EBT card. This is very important, what they can and cannot buy with their food stamp cards. And it's a federal guidelines, not a state. It's only food items can be purchased with SNAP benefits.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Dasheen Blizzard. I'm with the Department of Social Services, and I work in the TFA unit. So I'm going to just do an overview of the TFA, or Temporary Family Assistance Program. All right. So again, the TFA is that Temporary Family Assistance Program. Um, it's under the TANF, which is the Federal Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program that provides funds for Connecticut's TFA. TFA is a cash assistance program that is intended to help families with children become self-supporting. Now, TFA, of course, is meant to empower families. Like I just said, we provide referrals to other community services. We do help parents pursue child support. You do have to participate in our, most families participate in the Jobs First program to obtain, employment training or skill development, and to help them, eventually be off of the cash assistance when they're self-sufficient. These are the ways that you can apply for cash assistance. You can go to your local DSS office. You can apply online or through the mail. If you are not able to come in, you can call us and we can mail you out an application and you can send that back to us. Now, who makes up a TFA household? So you would be included on a cash assistance case if you have a child that's under the age of 18. All TFA cases must include at least one child. An 18-year-old child is only eligible if they're still enrolled full-time in high school. The only exception to that is if there is a pregnant woman who is 18 or 18 or younger. You can receive TFA assistance for yourself when you're pregnant, as long as you provide verification from the doctor confirming your pregnancy and your due date. All parents of an included child must be on the case. Also, the husband or wife of any TFA recipient must also be included. So if the head of the household has multiple children, they can choose which child or children to apply for as long as they are otherwise eligible. If an included person is married and living with their spouse, but they do not have any children in common, the spouse without children on a case would be included as an income deemer, but would not receive benefits. So, for example, Sue lives with 3 children and Mark, the father of the youngest child. Mark is working full time and his earnings make the household over the income limit for TFA. So, Sue can decide to apply for herself and the other 2 children only. Mark and the youngest child do not need to be included on a TFA case. If Sue wanted to apply for the youngest child, Mark's full income would then be counted. If they were married, then Mark's income would be deemed to the case, even if Sue did not want to receive benefits for their child in common.
Dasheen, can you just move
Want
your
me
microphone up to your voice, up to your mouth just a little bit?
Sorry about that. Is that better?
Yes, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. No problem. All right. So for TFA benefits or for TFA program, there are 2 main requirements. Unlike SNAP, we do look at your income and your assets. Okay, and we will pass out asset charts. We'll send that out to Lindsay after because it does. It's based on your. Actually, it's not no longer based on your region. Okay. But if you want to check to see if you are eligible for cash assistance, you can go on the connect.ct.gov and there's a tool up there that says, am I eligible? And you can check your eligibility prior to applying. All right. This is the income limits for the TFA program. It can be a little complicated and it varies based on a number of factors. So on the screen, you see a chart listing 3 incomes, the standard of need, the federal poverty level, and the payment standard. When a person is initially applying and is working, the income limit is the standard of need for the family size, which is in the first column. This income limit is used for each new application while a person is in their first 21 months of cash benefits. Okay, applicants are given a $90 deduction that is subtracted from their earnings. So for example, for a household of 2 with the monthly earnings of $700, they would be eligible for TFA because 700 minus the $90 disregard is less than the $718 standard of need. Okay, the next column is the federal poverty level for each family size. This limit is used in 2 ways. So first, this is the income limit used when a client who is already active on cash assistance begins working or increases their earning. Once a person is found to be eligible for TFA, the household is allowed to make up to the FBA federal poverty level before the case closes. That helps in encouraging employment, which allows a family to take a job, which may start off as part-time, but offer higher wages in the future before it closes out the cash assistance. The FPL is also used as the initial application income limit when a person reapplies for cash assistance within 4 months of their case closing. Finally, the payment standard is the benefit amount which a person receives for their household size. So this is the income limit that is used when an applicant is working and applies for an extension to the time limits. At the time of the application, if a household is earning more than the payment standard, they are not eligible for an extension. Although most of the time your income, the client's income would have the client's income would be earned income. I just want to point out that the income for unearned income payment sources is always the payment standard, no matter whether it is an application or an already active case. Depending on the income source and who the income is, it may be possible for the head of household to remove that person with the income from the cash assistance case. So just like I was saying earlier, how mom of 3 can not include her third child with the parent living in the household. On these cases, say there's a mom of 2 and she has 1 child that is receiving Social Security or disability income. She can apply for the household, but we could not include that child that's receiving that income. So that way that unearned income doesn't count toward that income limit. And examples of unearned income are unemployment, SSA, SSD, child support, pensions, and contributions from family members or friends. Any income that's other than wages. Okay, again, this is just talking about the unearned income sources, which we just reviewed. It could be from family and friends, workers' comp, rental income, pensions, things to that effect. All unearned income is counted dollar for dollar, meaning that your TFA grant amount would be reduced by the total unearned income sources for your included household members. For example, if the TFA benefit amount for your household size is $525 and you're granted $400 a month in unemployment benefits, then your TFA benefit will be $125. Okay, TFA applications have additional requirements to qualify. Applicants must complete an interview with the TFA worker. If you will be required based on your situation, we will connect you with the JFIS program. Child support referrals will be made on parents not in the home for any child included on the TFA case. Due to the amount of information that we cover in our interviews, TFA interviews can last at least an hour. And application can take up to 45 days for a decision to be made. And unlike SNAP benefits, there is no emergency cash that we can offer. Okay, before your TFA case can be granted, you must attend a mandatory orientation with the Jobs First Employment Services program. Once you attend the orientation, you will be assigned a Jobs First Employment Services caseworker. Okay. In Connecticut, a person is limited to an initial period of 36 months of TFA benefits. During that first 36 months of assistance, a person can go on and off as many times as they like, and each month they receive is counted towards that limit. Okay, after the 36 months have been exhausted, the household can apply for a 6-month extension. A person is eligible for 2 6-month extensions as long as they have been in compliance with that Jobs First Employment Services program. Okay, after the second extension, it is difficult, but it is allowed in certain situations to receive a 3rd or greater extension. Okay, in order to receive a 3rd or greater extension to the time limits, all adults on the case must have 2 or more barriers to employment, such as medical issues for themselves or a child, which limit employment hours, lack of childcare, substance abuse, domestic violence, DCF plans that limit work or other barriers. You have to provide documentation detailing how the barrier limits them from securing employment. Unlike the initial 36 months, once an extension is granted, the entire extension is used whether or not the household received the full 6 months of the extension. While each state sets their own policies regarding time limits and job participation requirements, there is a federal limit of 60 months of TANF benefits allowed in an adult's lifetime. The number of months an adult recipient receives TANF benefits in any state are counted towards the federal limit. So if someone lived in New York for 20 months, Massachusetts and Vermont, 20 months each, totaling 60 federal months, they would be ineligible to receive any time in Connecticut, even though they had never received benefits here unless they are exempt from the time frame. Okay. While receiving cash assistance, the adult household members will be required to participate with the Jobs First Employment Services Program, or JFIS. You must attend the initial orientation. In many cases, we will not grant the case until a client has complied with this requirement. We are also able to close out on an active benefit if the client has been referred for the orientation and has not attended. Once the case has been granted, clients must continue to regularly participate in all of the activities outlined in their employment plan. Employment is the main goal of the program. Clients must accept employment that is offered to them. They cannot reduce their hours or quit employment without good cause. And you must participate in all employment plan activities. Penalties could be applied for non-compliance with any of these responsibilities. Now, TFA exemptions to the time limits. Many applicants will be mandatory participants for that JFIS program, meaning they're able to work and required to participate in the employment program. However, there are situations in which a person can be exempt for a number of reasons. Exempt means the applicant is not required to participate in the JFIS program. So we also do not count the time that they are receiving cash assistance while exempt toward the time limits discussed on that last slide. Okay, the most common situations in which a person would be exempt from the job requirement include the adult recipient is unable to work due to their own medical condition, or they are needed in the home to care full-time for a child, spouse, or other family member living with them. In these cases, the client has to provide medical reports completed by a doctor to verify they are unable to work. A second common instance is after the birth of a child. Connecticut allows a new parent to be exempt to bond with the baby for 1 full year following the birth of the child. If it is a 2-parent household, only one parent will be exempt. The other person must continue to participate with that jobs first requirement. Other situations where an adult can be exempt include cases where a non-member caretaker relative, such as a grandparent, receiving benefits only for the grandchild, a parent over the age of 60 years old, and a teen parent under the age of 18 years old and in school full-time. Okay. Child support is required to be pursued when a household is receiving TFA. If paternity has not been established, the child support unit will work to have the father legally acknowledged, or be found through DNA testing. If paternity has not been established, the mother has to complete the acknowledgement of paternity form, and information on the parent not in the home will be collected, and it will be sent to the child support unit to aid in locating the parent and establishing a court order. In certain situations, such as domestic violence, households can be exempt from child support. Okay. All changes have to be reported to DSS within 10 days. A common reason for penalties or adverse actions on a case are that changes have taken place in the client's circumstances and they either have not reported them or they reported them to JFIS and not DSS, or vice versa. All changes in a client's circumstances need to be reported within 10 days. And changes are not limited to income, but they can be limited, but these are some of the most common. And just an aside on that, in a lot of cases when the income is not reported to DSS timely, we do, like Melissa was saying, we do have access sometimes to income, or we will contact you and we will go back at times to add that income, which will cause the client to owe money to the state of Connecticut. So I just encourage everyone to make sure that they're reporting their income for TFA when it does change. SNAP reporting guidelines are a little different than TFA reporting guidelines. All right, and this is just a summary of everything that we just went over for the TFA. Again, I'll send that the income guidelines over so that you can have those, and hopefully this did help to understand the TFA program a little bit more.
All righty. So next we're going to go over, there are two types of cash programs with the state of Connecticut. Dasheen just covered the TFA, which is for families. I am going to go over the SAGA cash, state administered general assistance, provides money to eligible individuals who are unable to work due to a physical or mental disability deemed by a doctor. The SAGA program provides monthly cash assistance to eligible individuals and married couples who are either permanently or temporarily unable to work. Those eligible for SAGA receive a modest cash benefit each month intended to help the cost of basic needs. The current maximum benefit for one person is $255 per month, though the benefit may be lower for certain categories of individuals. Individuals cannot receive SAGA if they are receiving benefits from any other state or federal cash assistance program. The application progress for SAGA is received. It is reviewed by eligibility service workers. An interview is required for all applicants. Interviews are done over the phone unless a client specifically wishes to conduct the interview in person. During the interview, the worker will review all the information listed on the application and discuss any information that is missing. The worker will review the household comp, individual applying, the benefits, income, assets, expenses, their employment status, and go over other requirements of the SAGA program. During the interview, the worker will determine if any additional verifications are needed. And we have 60 days from the date of the SAGA application to make our final decision. How to apply, again, it's the same way as the SAGA and the TFA, our resource centers, DSS My Connect, or again, you can call the Benefits Center and request an application to be sent to you. These are the requirements. Who is eligible for SAGA? To qualify for SAGA, your monthly income must be less than 3 times the highest SSI, Social Security insurance payment, which is currently $967. This means you cannot make more than $2,901 per month. But making less than this amount doesn't automatically qualify you for SAGA. We also looked at your applied income, the money you make after certain deductions. Your applied income must be lower than the SAGA's maximum benefit amount, which is $255. Generally, most SAGA applicants have either no income or income that does not qualify for deductions. Any applied income that client does not receive reduces their SAGA benefits amount per dollar. For example, if a client receives unearned income, such as a pension of $100 per month, and they do not qualify for any deductions, their applied income is also $100 per month. This applied income of $100 is subtracted from the maximum benefit of $255, resulting in a SAGA payment of $155. These go over the different assets and the asset limits for the SAGA program. Okay, so when a client says they cannot work due to a mental or physical disability, then they are giving medical packets. The medical packet consists of 4 forms and is sent to the client directly or given to them if they are in person. These different forms are the W300SA. This form is to be completed by the client's medical provider. On this form, the provider will be required to indicate whether the applicant is able to work. If the applicant is unable to work, the provider will be required to provide a duration and include information on the patient's diagnosis and limitations. The other form is the W303, Client Supplemental for Medical Information. This form is completed by the applicant. The applicant will just give us a little idea about their condition on why they cannot work. The W303A is permission to share medical information. This form is to be signed by the applicant and authorize their doctor to share medical information with Colonial Cooperative Care. This form is important so that doctors may communicate directly with CCC. The last one is the W513, request for medical payment. This form is to be used when the SAGA applicant is not a recipient, why can't I say that word? Recipient of Husky. The doctor can use this form to bill DSS for their services. When a client is given a medical packet to complete, they are also given a paid return envelope so they can send everything to Colonial Cooperative Care. Forms can also be returned to DSS or faxed directly to CCC. Colonial Cooperative Care, more commonly referred as CCC, is a group of medical professionals who perform imperial medical reviews. Since the workers at DSS are not licensed physicians or medical professions, DSS contracts with CCC to provide medical employability and disability determination services. They are experts on the federal criteria used to determine disability and have access to variety of resources to help make their determination. CCC will determine if a client is considered unemployable according to SAGA state regulations or disabled according to the requirements established by the Social Security Administration. All SAGA applicants who are unable to work for 6 months or more, or who are over the age of 65, are required to apply for SSI and assign an interest in the claim and assign an intertest claim to the department. Okay, sorry about that. We'll go. The same applies to individuals who are receiving SAGA under another category or non-medical employability who also indicate an inability to work for 6 months or more. So this is saying basically, for an example, a client is 67 years old, they come in, they're not receiving any type of Social Security, and they say they cannot work for 6 months or more, or the doctor says they cannot work for 6 months or more. They have to apply for SSI with the Social Security Administration, and they have to verify with us that they applied for Social Security. Or if they already did apply for Social Security and they got denied, they have to appeal the decision and show us that they appealed and are still working with the Social Security Administration. The other form is a W-650, and this is for people who are pursuing SSI. It's an authorization for reimbursement of the state of Connecticut. Once an initial claim must be reached, and you check the initial box at application date. What this is basically saying is that once you apply for SSI and you are granted, you are okaying the state of Connecticut, DSS, to take back the money that they paid you in between while you were waiting for your SSI claim to be accepted. These are the reporting requirements. Recipients must report changes to DSS, which may affect their eligibility status. Benefit amount, employability status, and other changes are required by the department. Some examples of required change include change in income, such as new employment or new income sources, change in assets, change in your residency, and change in household compensation. Changes must be reported to the department within 10 calendar days of the date the change occurred. Changes can be reported online at www.connect.ct.gov or MyDSS, or calling the Benefits Center. Things to remember. This is when you are giving us back information. These are some of the important data that you want to put on your information that you're giving back to DSS. When creating a My account, these are the different forms or information that you can obtain from a DSS My account. Again, thank you for your time. And I do know we had a lot of questions, so we will take a little while to answer the questions. Again, there's the Benefits Center number, and thank you again for listening to our presentation.
Thank you, guys. There are quite a bit of questions in the chat. Just a reminder to everyone, if you have a question, please type it in the chat. We're going to go through the chat first, and then if anybody wants to come off mute and ask their question later, we'll address any raised hands after the fact, but we'll go through the written questions first. Starting at the top, I believe this is for the first part of the presentation. The first question is, what about if a person is living with a relative momentarily while she's trying to find her own place? Does the owner of the house need to be included on the application, for example, a mother with 2 children?
No, they do not. So in this case, the head of household compensation would just be the mother and her 2 children.
Great. Next question is, do you have to meet all of these requirements or just one for the expedited SNAP?
You have to meet all requirements for it to be expedited SNAP.
Okay. Then we have, what do we do if a client has their benefits skimmed or stolen in another state?
Yes, so unfortunately, that is happening a lot, and we are still working with the Attorney General and the governor in this, and we are no longer reimbursing because the state ran out of fundings to reimburse because of the last wave, how many food stamps were stolen. So at this time, we are just telling people if that did happen, you want to order a new EBT card completely and change your PIN number.
Okay, that's
And I'm
helpful.
sorry, just one addition too, just so that you don't have that happen, we are encouraging people to constantly change your PIN.
Mhm.
So maybe every month, just make sure that you're changing your PIN so that people don't have the opportunity to get that PIN.
Sounds good. Sound advice. Someone said, is it true that they are changing what you're able to buy on food stamps?
At this point in time, we have not heard anything on that.
Okay. What support is given to the client through JFS? Does it help with obtaining a license or doing driving school?
So for that program, it's different for everyone that attends. So when you go to the orientation, they're going to give you a case manager, and then yourself and your case manager will work on that, what you want to do together. I do know that people do go there and they are able to work on getting a license so that they can get back and forth to work, and they are given assistance with childcare. Care for Kids, as most people know, has a long wait list, but when you're part of the Jobs First, you move to the top of that list. And there is also opportunities for training, schooling, employment, whatever it is that you choose to work on.
So it sounds like it's to your benefit to be part of JFS if you're looking for daycare as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, this I think is more of a comment, but it says in New York City, people are able to use their SNAP cards for cooked food because most of them are homeless and have nowhere to cook or keep food. Why doesn't Connecticut allow that? Especially since we have an overwhelming amount of people that are homeless. That's why I believe there are so many people selling their food stamps for cash in order to eat.
Yes, so you can, some stores do allow you to purchase. I think Costco, you can get those rotisserie chickens, which are purchased. They have macaroni that's purchased. So there are some stores that you can, yes.
So there's some exceptions.
Yes.
Cool. Um, I think this is probably going into TANF now. It says, can you
Yep.
please talk a little bit about who can be excluded from working to care for another person?
So, say, you're in a household and you have a child who is disabled, and he requires, or he or she requires you to care for them. That adult can be excluded from working to care for your child. If you have a spouse that needs your care in the home with you, you can be excluded. Both actually in that situation could be excluded because your spouse is unable to work and you are unable to work because you're caring for your spouse. It could be for your own physical or mental health condition, but all of these are done by a medical provider. So if you feel like you're unable to work, and you have to take our medical packet and give it to your medical provider, and they complete that and send it to us.
Thank you.
No problem.
I think this was for one of the family size compositions. I think it was under TFA. On the
Mhm.
chart, it had a family size of one. So the question was, does family size of one mean one adult and one child?
So the family size of one would most likely mean either one adult or one child. So in some situations for TFA, you can have a family size of one, and maybe that's a pregnant woman. So she's just getting benefits for herself. And also we have ward cases. So say it's a grandparent raising their grandchild. And in that situation, the grandparent a lot of times is not requesting benefits. They're only getting that benefit for the child. So a family size of one is exactly that. It's just one person, a child or an adult.
That's good to know. I had that same question.
No problem.
Um, how long are TFA cases open for? I think you went over a little bit of this on the slide, but
So in TFA is granted for a year, just like SNAP benefits are. And at the 6 month mark, you will do a renewal, just like you do for for SNAP. But for TFA, we do have that time limit of 36 months. And at that month 35, you'll get a letter in the mail and it's going to say you need to apply for an extension. And just like the slide said, usually the first 2 extensions are um, they're granted to you as long as you're in compliance with the Jobs First program. And then that third one, it's a little bit more difficult to get, but you can get a third one in a lifetime, 60 months, no more, no less. But again, it's depending on your circumstances.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, can I just say one last thing about that?
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
please just keep in mind, because a lot of times, we have people who, I may have had a child when I was 21 and now I got TFA when I had that child. Now I'm 34 and I'm having another kid. That time when you had the kid at 21 and you got those benefits, that time does not go away. All of that is counted towards your 60 months or 36 months. It's all being counted. And that's important to know because we do get a lot of people, that come back and they don't know that that number is still going on. It's still being counted.
So 60 months in a lifetime is literally the lifetime.
Exactly.
Okay. If a child is disabled, the Social Security income cannot be used, is the question.
I think that depends on which program you're referring to.
Okay, what program is
For
that?
SNAP, we count that income for Social Security. For TFA, that child could be the reason. So if it's a household size of 2, a parent and a child that receives Social Security income, the parent would get the TFA benefit because they have the child, but the child would not be included on that benefit. So really, it depends on which program you're referring to for that one.
Okay. How do you schedule an interview in person? The only option when calling DSS is to schedule a SNAP interview. I've not heard an option that allows you to call DSS to schedule a SAGA cash interview. Will DSS call the person applying to schedule the interview?
Yes. So when we pull the application and it is either a SNAP or a SAGA cash application, we call and we also have this new feature where we will text you. It will say,
Nice.
hey, we are doing your application. We will call you to give you a heads up. We will call you in 15 minutes from this number to conduct your food stamp SAGA interview. Now, some homeless people come into our resource centers who do not have telephones. And that is where the in-person interviews come into place.
Got it.
And also for that question, when you first call us, the first thing you hear is, do you want this to be in Spanish or English? Press 1 or 2. The next thing you hear is immediately, if you're calling back for a SNAP interview. And a lot of times people press that option, but if you do not press that option and you hold on the phone, you are going to hear another set of options for different things, because that's when your TFA, your LTSS, all of those other options are after that SNAP interview option.
Helpful. Did you say that if you are on SAGA, you can't be on any other state programs, even SNAP?
No, you cannot be on any other cash-funded state programs. So you cannot be on TFA and receive SAGA cash. You cannot be on Social Security Disability and receive SAGA cash. Food stamps, yes, you can be on food stamps and SAGA, but again, your food stamps won't be the maximum of the 292 because we count the SAGA cash as income.
Can a Park City ID be used? That's specific to Bridgeport, I believe. So some communities in the state of Connecticut, I believe, have their own town IDs
Yes.
to be used instead of like a DMV ID. Are those allowed?
Yes. Yes, we
Yes.
allow a lot of different types of ID to be used, birth certificates, the records from a hospital when you were
Jail
born.
ID
Like,
cards.
yes, we utilize a lot of different. And when you so if you confirm your identity now, the only thing we're asking you when we talk to you or when you come back in is just to sometimes just make sure that you're that person. You can provide us with a piece of mail, different things. So that Park City ID can be used, and there's a bunch of other things that can be used as well.
That's helpful. What about student IDs?
Yes.
Perfect. For SNAP, if someone rents a room in an apartment and has multiple roommates but does not share finances or food, can they be considered a household of one? Also, can you clarify why someone might have been told they couldn't get SNAP covered for their 20-year-old son because he wasn't working 20 plus hours? Do children between 18 to 22 need to be working?
Mm,
So that's a
yeah.
two-part question. So the first question is, yes, the person can just apply as a household of one. They do not have to put all their roommates in because they purchase and prepare their meals separately. The 20-year-old, again, remember this I had to believe they were denied if I had to guess due to being in college. So if you are a full-time college student, you have to be working at least there is a
20,
32
20
20
hours a
hours
week
a week or more to be considered food stamps.
for
If you
the,
are not working that, then yes, you are taking out of the family comp size due to not working the 20 hours a week or more. If you are a 20-year-old applying for yourself and you don't live with mom and dad and you're not a college student, then you are eligible. But it sounds to me that that 20-year-old was enrolled in college and not working the 20 hours a week or more.
How can documentation slash citizenship status impact eligibility for these services?
So for food stamps, you have to be a US citizen or B, have the green card, your legal permanent resident card for 5 years or more, and or any child under the age of 18 who has some kind of citizenship. They don't have to have the 5 years or more, but be a legal citizenship is eligible for food stamps. I'm not sure about TFA.
okay. And for cash assistance, it is usually the same. As long as you have some type of legal status here, then yourself, your children can qualify in some situations. If you're unable to qualify, the children still receive the benefit for the cash assistance and for TFA as well. I'm sorry, for SNAP as well. But we just are checking to see like what exactly your status is. So it's going to depend on if you're not documented, unfortunately, you wouldn't qualify for the benefits, but in most situations, children do. So, or, you know, if say you're not documented and you have a child in the United States, your children will be covered, but you won't be covered. And any income you have, we will deem your income towards the children.
And unfortunately, even if a child under the age of 18 is undocumented, they are not eligible for any type of program as well.
Good to know these days. Thank you.
No problem.
Um, how would I gain access to DSS internal system to be able to check on residents' benefits and status?
I don't, what it, call
I'm
the
I'm going
benefit.
to assume that they wouldn't have access to the internal
Right.
system.
Yes, we
No,
don't share that with anybody. You can call the benefit center as an authorized representative, and you have to be able to speak on other clients' records. You have to have a authorized representative signature on file, or we will not be able to give that information out to you.
So that's one of those forms that you reviewed earlier that they would have to have signed.
There is a specific authorization that's completely separate from the forms we went over. It's an authorization to speak on your behalf about your benefits.
What programs need to be completed when receiving TFA?
um, so the only program that we have, I think this is referring to the Jobs First Employment Services Program. That is a requirement when you are participating in or receiving the cash assistance. I mean, I, if I'm understanding the question correctly, that is the program that's required. In addition to completing that program, you do have to make sure that you are in compliance with child support, um, our child support services. And as long as those two things are, you're complying with those two things, then you should be okay as long as, you meet the income and asset guidelines.
Is there a time limit on SAGA benefits while an individual is moving throughout the SSI application and determination process?
No, as long as you stay up to date on your renewals and reporting information and you're still in the guidelines.
Great. I have a client receiving benefits from DSS. She received a one-time check from Respite for her son. Is this something that she needs to report? No.
No,
No, not if it's a one-time thing. No, if it's something
one-time
that's
income.
repeated, yeah. No.
Okay. For SNAP, can you make out-of-state purchases buying food in New York if registered in Connecticut?
No, you're not supposed to.
Not supposed to. Okay.
If, but yeah, I think if you were visiting, right, you can buy it, but a lot of times we're checking when you see a lot of those out of state, sometimes it can appear that you are living in another
Right.
state. So you just want to be careful with that.
Mm. If a homeless family of 2 adults are paying to stay at a hotel, does this expense count as rent, and how can this expense be reported on a SNAP application?
Yes, we see this a lot. Yes, you just send in the hotel receipt.
Is an SSDI application eligible for SAGA?
No, because usually SSDI payments are way above the 255.
You can, just going back to that one, they can apply for the state supplement program, which we didn't review today, but it is another program that just kind of supplements that if they are receiving a lesser amount.
Okay. Applying for food stamps is an agency for people who are displaced and living in a tent. It's not really a question, but
You would just, if they have no address, there's a place where you would do homeless, and then you would use your local DSS office as the mailing address to pick up your EBT card.
so they would use the office address for you guys. Okay.
Yes.
If the client is receiving less than 255 in cash assistance, it does mean that they are getting money from elsewhere.
Yes.
Yes.
What is the SNAP and TFA fraud investigative process?
Um, I'm not sure if Melissa could speak on that, but I don't know exactly what it is. I know that they do home visit phone calls. They check like DMV records to see like property ownership and things to that effect. But those are the things that I know. But unfortunately, I've never been involved in that. Melissa?
Yes, so one of my best friends works over there. So what the process is if you're sitting down with a worker doing an application and there's just discrepancies if the baby father's in the home, if you're counting the correct income, the worker will make a fraud referral. Once that fraud referral is sent over, the fraud investigator will research it. They will do a pop-up home visit. If no one's home at the pop-up home visit, they will leave something saying, please contact me. And then that's when they look into like social media and they do like a full investigation to see what's going on. And if you are found fraudulent, you do lose your benefits for, I believe is it a year, 6 months?
I
But
don't know.
yes, you just don't want to get messed up with that.
Mm.
And I know in some situations, like when they go out and like say someone comes in and the dad or the other person is in the home and they have income, sometimes they'll just say, this application can't go forward without
Without
that
this, yeah.
person being included on the application. So then there's an adjustment to the household composition.
Mm. Okay. Is it true that the age is changing from 18 down to 7 years for dependents on SNAP?
We have not heard anything on that, so I can't answer that.
Okay. Can people use a mailing address when seeking services that differ from where they are actually living, for example, due to couch surfing?
Oh,
This is where it gets into a slippery slope because we don't like people to do that. However, if you have a situation where I have a lot of clients who their mail gets stolen at their address, so they have a PO box. As long as I know for the food stamp program, as long as you can say why you do and it's a sufficient why, then yes, but it's not recommended and the agency doesn't like to.
Mm.
For cash assistance for the TFA program, we need to know where you live. So a lot of times we do, like for the SNAP program, people can put like the DSS office as their address, but for TFA, you wouldn't be able to receive the benefit if we don't know where you are. We have to know where you live. So a lot of times I say to people, if you're couch surfing, where do you like, is there a place where you stay 3 nights a week versus this one? Like, we just need to know an address for you for the cash assistance programs.
Can you have SAGA and SNAP or SNAP considered an additional form of cash assistance? I think you answered this
We
one
already answered
already. Yep.
this.
Does SNAP provide employment support?
Well, the JFIS program for the TFA and for SNAP, we do have something called the Pathways program where you can pick up a brochure in your local resources center. And there are listings of different community colleges where you can attend courses for free and get college courses for free being on the SNAP program.
Does SNAP provide, oh wait, oh yeah, already answered that one. Support. Are people able to get food stamps while working 40 hours?
We do not go by how many hours you work. It's all based on income. So if you are working 40 hours and you're under the income guidelines for your household, then yes.
Is there a transitional period given to clients when they no longer qualify for SNAP benefits? For example, 30 or 60 days of SNAP benefits after not qualifying to adjust slowly into the transition?
Unfortunately, no. So if your renewal's due and say your renewal was due by May 30th and we did it on May 30th, and at that renewal you were over income, your food stamps will not be on for June.
And just to piggyback on that, so if you are receiving TFA benefits, and you become over the income limit, then we do have a program. It's called TBA SNAP. So you will continue to get that SNAP benefit for an additional period of time. And I don't want to say this incorrectly. I believe it's 6 months, but it could be longer. I will have to research that. But it is called TBA SNAP. You still can get the max SNAP benefit for a period of time if you no longer qualify for TFA and SNAP.
Good to know. Are there any changes for clients who are residents or different immigration status?
Not as of right now.
Can you receive SNAP and SAGA cash at the same time? We talked about that already. I have a dad who's a landscaper and his work is inconsistent. His pay stubs are not weekly. He's the only income in the home. Both children are citizens and both parents are not getting are not. Is there any guidance on this for SNAP?
Yes, so that would be considered a per diem job. Anyone who does not work consistently and get paid consistently, we'd call it per diem. And in that case, we would need 3 months worth of pay stubs. So let's say your dad or whoever's dad went to go apply this month. We are in June. We need all pay stubs from March, April, and May, and then we do a monthly calculation.
Can a couple with a child apply together for cash assistance and co-parent when applying for TANF rather than involve child support services?
Yes. So for the TANF program, we are seeking child support for parents that are not in the home. So if dad has the daughter or the child and mom's not in the home, then we're seeking child support for that parent that's not in the home. If both parents are in the home along with the child, they can receive the services and we are not pursuing child support.
I currently work with nonprofit as a case manager. I have clients who cannot complete the application for SAGA. Do I need to add my name to the application as someone who assisted the individual? Also, do I use my email address when the client doesn't have one?
So we do not use any type of email addresses. We will not ever communicate with either a case manager or a client via email. So that wouldn't be. And yes, she would need to put her name under the authorized rep portion, or the portion helping fill out this application. Yes. No.
Any changes for clients who are residents? No. Can a person applying be assisted by a case manager from a service agency in gathering and completing the 303, 303A, and 513 forms?
If they are on the authorized representative on their case, yes.
How can a person inquire if they have utilized their lifetime amount of TANF?
You can come in the office, you can call us, and we can review that. My suggestion would be to fill out an application. And if you're not sure, always complete the application. You can come in and sit with us and complete it, or you can do it online. But once you complete the application, we're going to look at that information. You do have access to it. And if you're over the lifetime amount, then we would deny it and we would tell you why it's denied. But, worst case scenario, you get denied. Best case scenario, you get those benefits. An application can be used as an extension. So even if you're at like month 42 and you're applying, we can use that application to grant you your first extension. So apply. If in doubt, always apply.
I guess this person missed the answer for about why food stamps can't be used for prepared foods. It's just not a thing in Connecticut.
Yeah, unfortunately, our programs are state and federally funded programs, and these are the requirements that what you can and cannot use isn't something that we get a say in. And unfortunately, it's something that probably will be changing soon. But the hot foods is one thing that we it just won't let you use it. But also there are, like Melissa said, some places where you can use it, like to buy that
The
the
Costco
rotisserie
chicken.
chickens and
Yeah.
things like that.
You said cases of DV can extend TFA beyond 60 months. Is that correct? Does that need to be an active DV case, or maybe that a parent is single or has no child support because of a DV case, no current DV, or does there need to be ongoing DV?
So DV, we have to be able to verify when you're at month 60 or even at month 36. So for domestic violence to get TFA benefits, and the DV can waive the child support requirement, you have to initially at application, your first application, you tell us. So you can just say, this is what's going on. If you have a restraining order or something, you can tell us that and we can grant that at first. Anything after that does require some type of paperwork, some type of documentation. So I would say that it does need to be, if it's not something that's happening to you right now, it is something that's causing you to fear that this person is going to retaliate against you if you, reach out for child support or something to that effect. So it doesn't have to be anything that's currently happening to you.
Okay. Um, if a client does not have a telephone number, can they provide a caseworker's? I assume yes, but they would have to be an
They
authorized
have to
rep.
be there. No emails ever. We don't.
Yep. Can a family with children receive food stamps if their parents are not documented, but the children are?
Yes, it would just be for the children but don't forget the income is still going to count as a family of 4, but they take off a percentage. We don't count the 100% of the income.
Okay. I don't know what this is referring to. 32 hours. No idea. SAGA, can you?
I think that was that working, or the college student working. It
Oh, yes.
be 30 hours a week consistently full-time college student.
Okay. SAGA, you can have SAGA and you don't have to apply for SSI if your disability or inability to work is deemed to be less than 6 months by a doctor. Correct.
Yes.
Will the required forms from the doctor ask to indicate if the inability to work will go beyond 6 months? Is there a way to avoid being forced to apply for SSI, SSD while benefiting from SAGA should any doctor be willing or able to fill out these forms?
As long as the doctor says 12 months or more, you have to apply for SSI. If it's 6 months or less, or 3 months or less, or then no, you do not have to go for the SSI.
What is the monthly income to receive SNAP for a family of three? I think that's one of the charts that will be in the slide deck.
Yes.
Just again, folks, the training is being recorded, the recording will be shared, and the slide deck will also be shared. So you guys will have access to all of those charts. Will you be providing slides? Yes, I just said that in order to refer back to you. Is that related to I assume that's related to the slides. The slides will be sent out so you guys can refer to the Q&A portion on the recording as well. Let's see. Is it true if you're an immigrant, you have to be in the country for 5 years before you're able to receive benefits?
Yes.
Yes.
Um, well, I mean, it really, that's the legal permanent resident, because we do have people that come in different ways, like refugees, asylees,
Mm,
special Afghan, like special immigrants, and there isn't a 5-year waiting period for those.
okay, that's
So
good to
really, it
know.
depends on your status.
Should an 18-year-old college student living on college campus seek services as an individual or continue under the family's composition?
If they are working the 30 hours a week or more, yes, they can apply on their own. But if they're not, they wouldn't be eligible.
And just to piggyback on that, also, if you're living on a college campus and the college is providing you all of your meals,
Oh, yes.
yeah, you don't qualify for the SNAP benefit, but you can still qualify for medical, or say you're, a pregnant mom that's living on campus, you can qualify possibly for those cash benefits, but you wouldn't qualify for the medical.
Can a mother with children all over the 18 be eligible for SAGA?
Yes. If they meet those other criterias of not being able to work.
What benefits are available for the following household? A single parent household comprising of a 24-year-old who receives SSI, a 19-year-old part-time working.
Food stamps and medical,
Mm-hmm.
food stamps and
Maybe
medical.
state sup or saga, depending on the parent, like if they are, unable to work, but not TFA.
When a client can't provide a letter from a previous employer stating they don't work there anymore, what would be the next step?
We were during COVID accepting self-written letters stating my last day of work at Costco was January 3rd, 2025, but that was getting out of hand with
Mm.
the fraud, how much fraud was going on. So now we try to make every attempt that you try. There's also a W-35 form that SNAP workers can send directly to your employer to fill out and send back. If they still do not send that back, then we could take that self-addressed letter. But we want to try every avenue before we take your self-addressed letter.
And also, because every program needs an interview now, when you're on the phone and you're getting that interview, if you're unable to verify that employment has ended, you can ask the person to, with you on the phone, call the employer,
Mm.
because maybe we can verify it over the phone, but we cannot do that unless you are on the phone with us. So, just ask us to, reach out to that employer and we can try placing that phone call. Sometimes that does work.
Okay. If grandkids are staying with their grandparents for the summer, can they apply for the children?
No, because
No.
that is not their legal permanent address.
If someone is homeless without an ID, birth certificate, or social security card, what can they use to apply for SNAP or SAGA benefits?
A
Um,
letter, a letter from the, oh, you said they're homeless. So, um,
anything,
and,
some kind of, we need
yeah,
something to show who you are.
And just so we're being clear as well, once you've verified your identity, so if you had SNAP benefits at a time 10 years ago, you verified your identity, it stays in our system, so you don't have to continue to verify your identity. So I mean, if you're homeless now but previously you applied for SNAP and you had an ID or you had a birth certificate or social security card, those things are still in our system. So you don't have to resend it when you're filling out a new application, even though I know when you fill out the application, it's asking you for that information, but it is already there.
We would
Um,
just run your social security number through social
yeah.
security to make sure it's you.
I will say when I was director of a shelter, I had some clients that had no documentation whatsoever. And I remember, I forget which one it is for, but I know that medical records, if they have any, can be used as proof of personhood and allow you to
Yep.
get, I think it's the Social Security card as like a first step, which then allows you to get like an ID and then allows you to get a birth certificate. So it's kind of a puzzle that you have to piece together. But if a person has medical records, it can be used as something to like get the process started of getting them document ready. Just throwing that out
Yeah.
there.
And we can use that as ID too for the medical records can be used as ID to get those benefits.
Perfect. What if the person is homeless and cannot make it to the local DSS for due to a lack of transportation?
For for what reasons? Like, what are we talking?
So
Like,
for an application, like to apply,
you could do it
you don't,
online. You could call the
yeah,
benefit center. You do not have to go to your resource center.
yeah. And most libraries, if you're near one, they usually have computers that people are able to use for free. So you can submit one that way.
What benefits are available for the fall? I think, let's see. Single mom, 23-year-old on SSI, and a 19-year-old college student who is employed part-time. Can the 19-year-old and 23-year-old receive SNAP? I think we answered a version of this before.
The 23-year-olds can apply on their own, but the
Hmm.
19-year-old would have to be under mom.
Um, let's see. Is there a work rule for SNAP right now for able-bodied adults without dependents?
Yes. It depends on what town you live in. There is a listing on the DSS website of towns that are exempt and towns that are not exempt. And it goes over all the able-bod rules and regulations depending on what town you live in.
Can you share more about TBA SNAP when you share the slides? Do you guys have a slide deck for that?
We don't have a slide deck for that, but I can definitely look at the information to just let you know how long it is. I do know that TBA SNAP is not something that you're going to get more than once. But what I do need to look up would be the time frame. So, if you're applying for benefits today and you get the benefits and 2 months from now you're over, or 6 months from now you're over the income limit, and you've never gotten TBA SNAP before, the system will give it to you. But it won't give it to you again down the line. But I will double check the time frame.
Thanks, Tashine. I appreciate that.
No problem.
If a person is street homeless, can they receive their mail at a shelter?
Yes.
If you do work full-time and are still within income bracket for your household for SNAP, will you receive the max benefit for your household size, or is there a graph to know how much money you will receive?
Yes. There is a graph in there depending on how much money you make and how many people household and your maximum amount.
Okay. If grandparents have their grandkids for the summer, can they apply for SNAP for the period of 3 months? I think we already answered this as no.
No.
Can some please confirm if these materials shown here will be? Yes, I will be sending the materials out to everybody. I have a family that was removed from their home due to non-payment. They are living with another family receiving SNAP. How can I complete an application with this family and not cause any issues with the family they are staying with?
It won't affect the other family at all. They purchase and prepare their meals separately. As long as they state that during their interview, nothing will happen.
Great. A client wants to apply for cash assistance SAGA but receives alimony inconsistently. Court says they should receive 800 a month. Sometimes they receive nothing. Sometimes they receive back pay. Is this considered non-deductible income or is this too much income to be eligible? Would the inconsistent payments affect their eligibility? For example, if they received $1,000 of back pay on any given month.
Yes, that 800 a month, is that what it's like they say they get? We would need documentation. We need proof showing how much they're getting monthly, and with that amount, they would be over income for SAGA.
If a family of three income is less than 4304 a month, can they receive SNAP?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have the chart, but in the chart guidelines, it does tell you.
I have a client who has a household of three. She has two daughters, but one has her father label on paper, but the other one, she doesn't remember the name of the second child's father's last name. How can she get SAGA money for the other child?
She wouldn't get
Um,
SAGA for the child. That'd be TFA.
that'd be TFA benefit. And if they don't have the same dad and she doesn't have the information, if she wants both of the children to receive the benefit, not having that information regarding dad would hold up her application. We wouldn't be able to approve it if she didn't provide us sufficient information for dad. But again, she does not have to apply with that child. She can apply with herself and with the other child that does not have the same dad.
If a child 22 years old moves out, then has to come back home, can he or she apply for SNAP?
Yes, if they purchase and prepare separately from mom and dad.
Is there a lifetime limit of receiving SAGA? I have a client who received it many years ago but is interested in applying again.
No, we are not like TFA. There is no time limit. They can more than welcome apply again.
Okay. Can you use a letter from an organization that is verifying you? I think that goes
Yes,
back to the homelessness question of someone not having documentation.
yes.
Single mom of three, one currently pregnant and due July 2025. Household is over income for SNAP. The pregnant daughter is interested in SNAP. Any suggestions?
It depends on how old the daughter is. If she's 22 and over, absolutely. If she's not, unfortunately, she has to wait until that child is born. And then the mom can apply for the grandchild as well.
And for that case, that if that child is however old, she can apply for cash assistance while she's pregnant. She can apply for the TFA.
Okay. Um,
We did
I think
that one.
we answered this one already. I will copy that and add that to my notes. The 60-month rule for life, when does it start or has it already gone into effect?
The 60-month rule has been in effect for TFA for quite some time. The only thing that changed is that 36 months. As of April of last year, it changed to 36 months. It used to be 21.
I think this is for 22-year-old, is for the pregnant girl, I
Oh,
believe.
okay. Oh, I'm sorry. If she's 22 years old and she's
If she's
pregnant and she's
22, she
living
could
with
definitely
mom,
get
she can get
food
her own
stamps.
SNAP and her own cash.
Yep.
Okay. And last but not least, I have a client that applied for SNAP, but she was denied because she has two kids. The dad is already taking SNAP. There's no possibility of her getting SNAP because the dad has the custody of the children and is already taking the benefit.
Correct. So we have a lot of, they go back and forth between mom and dad. It's basically, unfortunately, who applies first and
Mm.
or who their primary residency with the school is, they receive the SNAP for the children.
So it's based on the school location and where.
Correct.
Okay. I noticed that interview letters are dated after the interview is scheduled. Has this issue been resolved? For example, an interview scheduled today and letter states client missed the interview and just received the letter yesterday. I work for a local DSS office and have a lot of clients use our address. We see this often.
That I think is not necessarily like a system issue. That's That's
Okay.
more like a worker issue. So when we process the application, we need to manually enter a date that gives the client 12 days from the date we process that application. So I would like to say that it is something that's been corrected, but just, if there's an issue and if the benefits have been closed, you can give us a call. Most of the time, anyone that answers the phone will be able to reinstate and grant the interview for you. And if there's an issue, the clients always have an option to request a hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you explain the state supplemental program?
The state supplement program is anybody who receives Social Security disability, any type of Social Security, we supplement the amount they pay out. So for an example, if my mom receives $1,200 SSDI and her rent is $1,275 or her rent is $1,155, close to how much she's getting, we will supplement that. And there's a whole calculation where we will supplement and give you a cash to supplement your income that you pay out for your bills. If you go to our DSS website, there is a whole write-up on the the state supplement program.
Great.
Uh,
Would the application be denied if the daughter applies for SNAP and uses the same address as her mom who is over income?
no.
Depending if she is 22 or over.
Yeah, I think
No.
that's the one that says 22 years
So
old.
no,
I
she would
think,
not be,
yeah.
not because we count her income and only her. We wouldn't
Yeah.
count the mom.
I think that people always have a thought that because, like, if Melissa and I live together, that
We have to.
Melissa automatically has to be included on an application that I put for myself. But although you're in the same house, literally under the same roof, your household is yourself and your children if you're responsible for providing for yourself and your children. Their household would be them and their children. So we do make the distinction of whether people purchase and prepare foods together. But if, a lot now more often than ever, people are living together. They're moving back home with their parents. But if you're over the age of 22, you live at home with your parents, we don't pay attention to that as long as you are purchasing and preparing your own food for yourself.
What happens if mom can't prove paternity for her child? Can she receive benefits?
So, in these situations, we usually refer people to child support enforcement to assist. There are times because, a lot of things happen where sometimes people won't know who the dad is, or, things happen and children are brought into this world. So you can request an exemption. And for some situations, like I said earlier about the domestic violence, a worker like myself, a TFA worker, can grant you your first exemption for domestic violence, but child support would have to grant an exemption for her if she doesn't know the paternity of dad. Exemptions from child support are usually a little bit more difficult to get because a lot of times what they're going to say, if it's not a situation of some type of violence, they're just going to ask you to, if it was multiple people involved, they'll say, let's try this person, we'll take that person. That doesn't work out, we'll go on to the next. So it really depends on the situation.
Okay. Will these services be deductible or have any impact when filing taxes at the end of the year?
No.
Some clients at our shelter are denied SNAP as they're staying at our shelter, which does serve meals, but often the clients are not in shelter for all meals or have dietary needs that we can't accommodate. How can we work around this?
Unfortunately, there is no workarounds. Federal laws state if a client is staying somewhere that receives more than half their meals in the day, they are not eligible for food stamps.
Okay. All right, those are all of the questions that I see in the chat for now. If anyone has any others, now or never is your last opportunity to type them in the chat. Or if anyone would feel so bold as to raise their hand and you want to come off mute, you can also do that now. Otherwise, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Dasheen, for your time today. This was incredibly helpful. This was really good information, and I love that you guys were able to answer all the questions that everyone had. Oh, there's one more question in the chat. I'll ask you that in just a second. Just a reminder to everybody, the session has been recorded. The recording will be shared out. The slides will also be shared out, and a lot of the slides have those charts that refer to household compositions and eligibility that folks were asking about earlier. Um, Review this portion of the Q&A on the recording to be able to get those questions and those answers to you as you need them. And let's see, we're going to do the last couple. It says, is the local DSS Child Support Department able to assist with out-of-state concerns regarding unverified child support being charged to them from another state?
Call the
Um,
local child support agency and they could tell you yay or nay, but I think they can. I've seen them.
I'm a little confused at the question. So are they saying that they're paying child support to someone else or to someone out of the state, or receiving child
Out-of-state
support
concerns
from?
regarding unverified child support being charged to them from another state. So it sounds like maybe the client is being charged out of state, from out
Yeah.
of state.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I agree with Melissa. I think that is something you can contact your local DSS child support department, or there are just local standalone child support offices you can contact as well, and they should be able to assist you.
Okay. How would you verify that a 23-year-old makes their own meals while still living with their parents?
During the interview, that is one of the questions. Do you purchase and prepare separately from your parents? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and it's on the application as well. It just asks you if you purchase and prepare with this person, yes or no. That's how we. Yeah.
And then this other question is, are there similar trainings for SSI and SSDI, or would you recommend any reading materials for further information?
If you go to the Department of Social Security website, there is a whole thing just like on our different programs, and it shows you all their programs.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank everybody for attending and for participating and for all of your great questions. Everything will be shared via email for everyone who registered for the event. And then all the materials will also be shared. And if you are on Roundtable, it will be shared on Roundtable through ODFC's portion. And I will make sure that Amber and the DEMAS folks and CCH folks has it to share within their own networks on Roundtable as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for your
Thank you,
time
everybody.
today.
Thank
Great,
you.
great job, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.